Welcome back to 24 KEIRUS. I'm Kelly Johnson, founder of KEIRUS by KJE. We are continuing the conversation with leaders from Hey Chica, and if you missed the first episode, you need to go back because it was fire, and we're going to continue that conversation to really talk about women and multicultural women in particular, and the components that we need to really step into our power. So, Veronica and Melissa, welcome back.
Thank you.
I enjoyed our last conversation so much. So thank you for your vulnerability and courage to share with us really the impetus that started Hey Chica, it being born from really vulnerable, authentic places and spaces in your own lives, and just how you're touching so many women. Now, I know, and I want to make sure I get this right. So within Hey Chica, you use the word Diosa, which means goddess. Talk about what that means and why that word is so important to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so it started when we first did our first self-care summit that we affectionately call We Recover and Reset. I think when we started that, I keep saying 3 years ago, it seems so like, wow, it's past. We wanted women to feel that they could heal and then feel empowered to feel like a queen and a goddess. And for me, growing up, the only queens and goddess was Cinderella, Bella, like we were raised around fairy tales of goddesses, right? So in that discovery, we were really intentional with our programming. I went back and we were looking at historical things, like even from our roots being Latina, me more importantly, Mexican. I felt there were stories that were not told of ancient rituals and goddess and the pyramids, all the magical stuff that we're not taught in school that were kind of sealed, right? And people don't really know about. So I wanted to reintroduce culture to our people and tell them the real story of where goddess is and where power comes from our ancestry. And that word just resonated. And I felt like if someone said they were a goddess, it already evoked an empowerment of some sort where people can just step in and say, I'm going to be this for the day, even if it was just for that day, but can go back to it and refer to it and reintroduce it to the community.
So connected to why that's important then, right? So why is it important for me to recognize I'm a goddess, or recognize the inner goddess that's in all of us? Why is that important for our careers or our community?
Yeah, I think that if we're not honoring the goddess within us, if we're not honoring our divinity, then we're not going to be able to step into our power in any area that we're in. And when we do that, then we provoke it out of other people, right? Like our light shines and it shines on other people. And so when we're owning that, when we're operating in our Diosa, then we're operating as a light for our communities and for the people that are around us.
I want to add to that because culturally too, Latinas are taught to be quiet and not to be seen. So from a cultural perspective, there's a lot of trauma that comes from us suppressing who we really are. And I wanted that to change. I wanted them to feel okay saying, I'm a goddess. You know, it's really hard and it's crazy because even during the summit, it's hard for people to just admit that they're beautiful or they're smart or whatever. And to see that putting the shirt on, it kind of gives you your costume for the day, but gives you that moment where you can really stand up and feel it. And then be celebrated by other women that are like, it's okay if you shine and I'm shining too. Like, it was very powerful. I mean, I keep saying that, but everything we do is intentional. It's not just a t-shirt.
Yeah. Although the t-shirt's cute
Oh, the
too.
t-shirt. That's a Hey Chica thing, right? We like to keep the swag up, and that adds to, again, it's all part of the packaging and how it's done. It's important, you know?
So let's talk a little bit about, like, I get it. We understand the importance of understanding the cultural scripts that we've been told in our lives. We understand why it's important to do the work to heal from our trauma. But why should an organization, why should a corporation or a manager, why should a DEI leader or HR leader care about the messages or the trauma that the women in their organizations may have experienced before they even step foot in that door?
Go ahead.
No.
I think they cheat themselves out of what they get out of an employee. From the most basic level, they hire someone to do a task, and I'm like, but you have a lion, like, and you don't even use the lion to its full capacity. And I think that that's so like I'm like that's so disappointing that I have a queen and that has a skill set, that has a power, that has a cultural power, that has a belief that brings abundance to your organization, and you're okay with not having that show up. And as a business owner myself, I think that that's a lot left on the table. And I think that people now in DEI spaces are getting smarter about that, and knowing that there's data that shows like when someone shows up as their authentic and whole self and they're empowered, there's a lot more that they can rate. They can see the productivity, they can see in the bottom line. So it's tied to, and you speak that all day, so you understand that, right? But this is like me, and even a basic level, if I go home and I let my husband be great, I allow him, I support him, or my sister to go and do her best without me attaching to my fears of whatever, then he can be great, and then we all benefit from it. My community benefits from it. And that's how it is in the corporate. It's no different in the corporate office. It should be seen in that same way.
Yeah.
Right?
No, she covered all.
It's incredible to me that people don't honor that, and I've seen it too long.
I love the simplicity of what you just said, but the power of it, which is, DEI in essence is about making people great, right? Mm-hmm. Or letting them be great, because they are already great innately. But unfortunately, there's a lot of systems and behaviors and beliefs and biases that really suppress the greatness that's within every single person. So anything else you want to add here?
Yeah, no, I think that's, she hit the nail on the head. I think sometimes when we're operating in spaces, no matter what space we're operating in, we may be we're not actually responding to the situation or the individual that we're interacting with. We're responding to past traumas and past experiences. That's really what we're interacting with. And if we can move past that, if we can clear that space so that we're operating from a pure place, then we can accomplish so much.
Yeah. So Melissa, you shared with me a story. I'd love for you to give a glimpse of that here, because I totally resonated with it. And that is just not even realizing how much my past trauma was with me in the workplace, right? Because you think, how does something that happened when I was 6 or 10, what does that have to do with me as an adult, a professional, a college graduate, or not a college graduate, but just, and so do you mind sharing that story?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had a mentor tell me that she's like, I noticed that you have some issues with authority, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. This is someone who cared for me. This is someone who really loved me. And it was a gift that she told me that, because a lot of times we don't get that feedback from
Can you
people,
say that
right?
Again?
Feedback, it's a gift. Yeah. And so then it allowed me to really think about, like, where is that coming from? And what we don't realize is in that instance, you're not actually responding to the authority figure. You're responding to an abusive parent. You're responding to an abusive situation and past traumas, like I said, that you've experienced. And when I was able to uncover that, when I was able to see the way that how I was interacting with people was a reflection of my past traumas, then I was able to connect, because I cleared the barrier that was sitting between me and that other person, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a friendship, or a boss or a colleague. There's barriers that sit in between us and that other person that don't allow us to connect and don't allow us to reach the full potential of what that dynamic can be, reach all of the possibilities. Yeah. And once we clear that space, then we're able to move forward.
I love what you're hitting on in terms of the importance of mentoring relationships, which often for multicultural women, they can be scarce at times, right? Any underrepresented community, it can be difficult to find those mentors who truly care for you, not just the one that's assigned to you because, it's an initiative in a company. And I also just love how you talked about just having the importance of that self-awareness, right? Yeah. So after you get the feedback, you've got to do something with it. And there's some homework and some healing that comes from that. So we're going to get ready to wrap up, but I want to sort of transition and segue to, we've talked about maybe some of the the healing, the history of what women, Latinas in particular, may need to face before we can step into our power. But I know Hey Chica is all about really helping Latinas get a piece of the pie. So define that. Like, what is the piece of pie that you want Latinas to have?
This is I say everything's my favorite. This is another one of my favorites. It's about building a pipeline, right? That's filling the gaps. A piece of the pie is everyone's eating and you need to eat too. And the system that we put in place our intention is starting now, even junior high school, is having these conversations then so these women can have a pipeline into leadership, whether in a business or at home, and that we develop the sisterhood that someone's going to turn back around and bring people up. We talk about the crab bucket mentality, and that's long and gone. It still exists, a different reference to it. And a piece of the pie means that, right? Like, we're turning back around and we're intentionally mentoring, talking about the same things at this level and also at this level. And it doesn't change, the message is the same. It's like, that's what Hey Chica is hey girl. And I thought of it like, hey girl, let me put you in the game. I'm a Jay-Z girl, and I thought, I want to tell everyone, how can I put you in the game? And that's the piece of the pie reference for me. It's like, we're going back and we're coming for you to lift you up and put you on. And you don't see that a lot. It's rare that happens.
It's so rare. And I think even there's an element of, ideally, as a woman, you know what that pie means to you or what you want it to look like, right? Sometimes I've encountered women that I've mentored and they haven't yet gotten the clarity around what success or what the goal looks like for them. And that's okay. We can support them to help them define that. But I think that, there's a mutual role and responsibility in this journey together. I certainly want to help pull other people up. I know you all want to help pull people up, but I think it's so critical that we begin to do the work to figure out, well, what does that look like for me?
Yeah.
And what do I really want?
So at the end of the day, a pie is joy and happiness, period, right? So how can we allow you to feel joy and happiness in what you want? That's by showing up so you can see it in me. That's by saying what I'm going to do, walking the walk. And then they feel like, I want that. People come around us all the time and they're like, what are y'all doing? Like, I want that. I want that. And it's really joy and happiness and protecting your peace. And that's the pie. It's not money or a job or whatever. You can have all that and still not have love and joy for yourself and peace.
Yeah. So. And I think, yes, because it could easily be construed, pie can easily be construed as materialistic. But I don't think that, I know that's not what you all are about. And even, my hope is that others realize that the pie is so much more than that as well. So I love your framing around joy, happiness, and peace. Anything you want to add, Melissa, before we wrap up?
She always brings it home.
I know. Great conversation. Thank you so much. This was really good. And thank you for listening again to 24 KEIRUS. We'll be back with more conversations about women empowerment, and then really just stepping into our power and the benefits that it brings to every organization. Stay tuned for more and make sure that you are following us. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, we'll see you soon.